All right. So today we are going to talk about subject-verb agreement. Now to start off, let's talk about what a subject is and what a verb is. So when we're looking at sentences in English, the subject of a sentence is who or what the sentence is about. So the subject is who we are talking about, what we're talking about. Now the verb, hopefully you all know this, the verb is the action that the subject does. So for instance, if I say the boy kicked the ball, in that sentence, the boy is the subject because he is who the sentence is about. And then kicked is going to be our verb because that is what the boy, the subject, is doing. Now, in English, it's super important to be able to identify the subject and verb in order to make sure that you have proper subject-verb agreement. So let's look at these first couple of sentences together. Now, the top one, the boy kicked the ball. We already went over that one. The boy is the subject, kicked is the verb. Now, the next one, after school we are going to the baseball game. In this sentence, we is the subject because that is who the sentence is about. And then are going is going to be the verb. That is what is happening. We are going to the baseball game. Now, as kind of a bonus in this sentence, the baseball game is considered the object of the sentence. We will talk about that more in depth another time, but just so that you know, we is the subject, are going is the verb, and then the baseball game is the object. Now, this is where subject-verb agreement comes into play. If the subject is plural, the verb must also be plural. Let's see what that looks like. First sentence, the man at the table was talking on the phone. In this situation, we only have one man, so he is singular. And our verb is was talking. That is also singular. Next example, the men at the table were talking on the phone. In this example, the men are plural. So we are going to say were instead of was. Now, if you're a native English speaker, you're probably used to this. You probably do it naturally. However, it does get a little bit more complicated, and that's what this video is going to dive into. Let's look at this one together. The students in Biology 1010 usually goes on a field trip each spring. Now this is kind of a tricky one because we have two nouns in this sentence, so you have to figure out what is truly the subject. Are the students the subject of the sentence, or is Biology 1010 the subject of the sentence? Hopefully you say the students. The students in Biology 1010 usually goes on a field trip each spring. So the students is the subject, goes is the verb, but that should be changed to go. Now in English we do something interesting. You probably know that to make a noun plural you need to add an S to the end of it. So for example, if we have one student, there's not an S at the end. But if we have more than one, we add that S and turn it into students. The opposite happens for verbs. So to make a verb plural, we take the S off. It's kind of weird. So in order to make goes plural, we are going to turn it into go. Let's look at another example. Sandals and towels is essential gear for a trip to the beach. This one's a little bit easier. We are just going to change this to sandals and towels are. So sandals and towels, those are our subject. Is the verb, but we are going to change it to are. Now, here is a trick question for you. Let's see if you can correct this sentence. Either the class officers or the faculty advisor make the final decision. Take a look at that. What's our subject? And what's our verb? Usually it's easiest to identify the verb first, so find the action. In this case, it is make the final decision. Now what's our subject though? Is it the class officers or is it the faculty advisor? Because that matters. Right now the class officers is plural, the faculty advisor is singular. And we need to be able to match the subject with the verb, and we can't do that unless we know what the subject is. Now, if you're stumped, that's okay. This one's actually tricky because what we have is called a compound subject. We have two things that are making up the subject together. So the class officers or the faculty advisor, both of those are the subject. Now, it gets tricky though because one is plural and one is singular. However, the solution is probably easier than you might be expecting. To make the subject-verb agreement match, we are just going to make the verb match the subject that it is closest to. In this situation, that is the faculty advisor. The word make is closer to the word faculty advisor than it is to class officers. So we need to make sure that our verb make matches faculty advisor. And in order to do that, we are going to add an S to the end of it because remember, we're playing with opposites here. So the faculty advisor, that is singular, it does not have the S. So we want to move that S over to the verb, which is make. So the corrected sentence should be either the class officers or the faculty advisor makes the final decision. That's it for today. If you have any questions, make sure to ask me.